Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about hooding birds of prey. This is a hawk and I popped his hood on for just a short while, and as you can see he's a little bit confused of why he can't see anything. To remove the hood I'm going to release these shorter straps here on the rear, with my teeth of course, and we'll pop the hood off, and now we can see and straighten himself back up again. When I use hoods on my hawks, it's really for short periods of time, so I didn't want him to wear that for too long, just long enough to demonstrate what we were doing there. Falconry hoods are made from leather, look a bit like this. They have long straps on the back for tightening and short ones for loosening. Hoods have been used on birds of prey since the medieval era, and essentially it's because it helps to keep the bird calm. Birds of prey fear what they can see and not what they can hear. So back in the day, hunting falconers would take their bird from its mews, pop the hood on, and would have to travel to the venue where they're going to go hunting. This might be on foot and it could be on horseback. Without a hood on, the bird may bait when it tries to fly unnecessarily, which is going to be a bit awkward for the falconer travelling, but also, more importantly, it's going to be wasting energy. When you're hunting with your bird of prey, you want it to be as energy efficient as possible, along with having the sharpest talons and the best feather quality and all those things that will help it be a successful hunting bird. Now, in the modern era, we use these travel boxes which are dark inside. They have concealed holes across the top and the bottom on either side so that air flows through, but the bird can't see inside. So really the transport boxes we use now are like a giant hood. So if we've got the boxes now, why do we bother using hoods at all anymore? The use of hoods has gone down quite a bit, but there are still uses for transportation. I mean, you might be walking to your area to hunt with, for example, but also for things like coping the beak or replacing anklets and other furniture, and maybe attaching the telemetry, especially if it's a backpack, for example. So it does have its use. Now, when it comes to hood training, there is a difference between a bird that's hood shy and a bird that's hood terrified. Roland, my Harris hawk here, is a little hood shy, because as I bring the hood up you can see he's kind of moving his head away from it a little bit, backing off a little bit. You know, he's not overly keen on the hood. That's because I don't hood him very often, because I just don't need to, and really I should hood him a bit more often during the week just to keep him used to it, but unfortunately we are so busy we don't often do it unless we need to, of course. But he's only hood shy. If a bird was hood terrified, then bringing up the hood would make it jump off the hand, it would be probably making a lot of noise, and all that's going to do is terrify the bird, create anxiety that's just unnecessary, and probably harm your training. So it is true that some birds cannot be hooded. I once read a falconer writing, "There's no such thing as a bad bird of prey, only a bad falconer." Well, I agree with that statement to a degree, at least 98% anyway. But if you find your bird is absolutely terrified of the hood, then really you're going to have to work without one. But if it's only hood shy, you can have a go training the bird. You don't need a hood to find out if it's hood shy. You can take anything. I'm going to take a PlayStation controller, it's just nearby, and if I bring this up to the bird, I get the same sort of response. He's backing off a little bit. It's like, what are you doing there? You know, same sort of thing. So you can just take a random object, bring it up to their head, and if it's backing off a little bit, then chances are it's just hood shy. I say that because you're going to have to get the right sized hood for your bird, and you can only do that by measuring it, by putting it on the bird. So there's a bit of a paradox there, isn't there, really? You sort of need to have the right hood before you can hood train it, but you've got to have one that fits correctly. So that's something you've just got to deal with. The way that the hood should fit very neatly on the bird is that it covers the eyes completely, but it's not pressing down on the cere, that's the yellow bit of the bird's face there, and also that the nostrils are clear. If the hood is only a fraction too big, there's a good chance it'll just shake it off if it moves about enough, so it's got to be just the right size. Once you've got a hood that is the right size, you can begin your hood training. Now this can take sometimes, with some birds, half an hour or so. Some birds it might take a few hours. Some birds it might take a couple of hours every day for a week. It just depends. But what you want to do when you're training any bird is to put yourself into the mindset of your bird. I say this all the time when it comes to training your bird to get the best bird you can. Now, if you were the bird and you had someone bringing something big and dark over your eyes and it was covering your whole face, you probably wouldn't like it either. So just trying to force the hood on the bird and hope it'll just get used to it, that isn't really very good practice. In fact, it could actually harm your training. Remember, trust is really important with you and your bird. So you want to introduce the hood gradually. The way to do this is to show the hood up here, down here. It's moving around a bit, put it back down again, back up again. You could then touch the bird on the front with it a little bit. You could bring it back up to the top there, bring it back down. And you'll find that with time, doing this kind of exposure to the hood, the bird will start to relax. At first, the bird will think, what is he doing with that thing on my head? Then after a while, they'll just start looking around and kind of forget what you're doing and ignore you. When you do finally get the hood on, you want to leave it a couple of seconds, don't tighten it, then take it off again. Then return back to your exposure stuff. Then when you get the hood back on, give it another 10 seconds and take the hood back off. So what we're doing is we're trying to keep ourselves unpredictable to the bird. The bird doesn't know if you're going to put the hood on straight away, if you're going to do stuff down here, if it's going to be on for a minute or two. It doesn't know. And that's going to really help it to become used to the hood, because you'll be able to kind of do anything you need to with the hood. Once you have got it on and off a number of times, you can tighten it by holding one end like so and a tooth on the other and tighten. Falconers are very good at using their teeth because, of course, we only have one hand free when we're holding our birds of prey. Now, hooding birds isn't something I'm an expert in. You know, I've not got my 10,000 hours in hooding birds because I largely don't need to do it. I work with owls a lot of the time. We don't put hoods on owls. You can't, unfortunately. It's a shame. The shape of their heads is just totally wrong. And with the raptors, over the years, I've had the odd falcon which came hood trained, and it was useful when we're putting on its telemetry or changing its anklets or something like that. But essentially now I use hoods only when I'm coping beaks and things, so it's not something that I'm a complete expert on. But I have seen master falconers take a bird that's hood shy and very quickly get that hood on, and it's quite a joy to watch actually. It's one of those things that the more you practice, the better you become. There is a saying when it comes to how to learn something, and practice makes perfect. Well, really, you want to get it right from the start and then get better as you move on. So actually, we want to be practicing perfect makes perfect.